to Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and we have a snow day. We got a lot of snow last night. I was very happy to see that. I was worried it wouldn't happen because I didn't know when it was going to officially start snowing. It kept changing when it would start, and finally it started in the afternoon, so I was very excited to see. It just kept going. So, because we don't get a lot of snow here, and I'm originally from farther up north, so I don't mind the snow. I don't like the ice, although I'm not the one that has to drive in it, but I still will have to deal with it. It means I can't do my walk, although I can't do my walk even with the snow because it'd just be kind of hard to trudge in the snow. So I do want to go out there. I might go out there at after I'm done filming this. But I want to get some stuff done first before I went out there. Although I didn't finish my review, my latest review I'm working on from last year. But I'm going to have to fix it up a little bit because I worry that I'm doing too much, that I'm putting too much in the review. But I'll work on it in a little bit. Anyway, so I don't have any podcast news or anything exciting to talk about podcast. I mean, nothing against the podcast. I mean, I'm enjoying them. It's just I don't have anything that I feel like, to tell you guys to talk excitedly about. But anyway, so all I got for you guys. I did watch. Oh wait, I do have a thing I watched. Bridgerton season 4 is finally here. Part 1 is available on Netflix, and I watched it. And I actually liked it. I enjoyed it. I mean, it felt I wasn't as excited about it as I was with season 3. And the end of the first part I'm not as anxious or eagerly anticipating. I mean, I do want to know. I'm excited to see how things turn out for these characters. I mean, I know it's going to be a happy ending, but still, I am still excited, but I'm not as anxious. I'm not, anticipating it. I was anxious for season 3 to return. I was just eager, and I was obsessing over it and wanting to know, and just feeling really needing it to come back sooner rather than later. And this one, as much as I enjoyed it, I'm like, oh, that was fun, that was cute, I had a good time with it. But I don't, I'm not like, oh my god, it has to come back soon. I don't want to wait anymore. I have to keep looking at stuff to keep me busy. But I probably like it more than a lot of people because it seems like there's some articles implying that they aren't satisfied with it, and which is something I disagree with. That the show, there are people that feel like the show has gone downhill, and I don't think it has. I've enjoyed every season, but I'm sure there are flaws like in season 3. I know a lot of people have a lot to complain about with season 3. Again, I disagree. But it kind of sucks because I feel like I'm alone here. I feel like I'm or at least the minority as far as fans go, where I'm happy. I loved season 3, and I just want to talk to someone that loves it. But then my friends, even though my friends enjoyed season 3, they were ready to move on to season 4. Because, one of them was, I think it was Sarah, who was kind of a Cinderella fan of that story. She was excited about season 4, and everyone loves Benedict, which I love Benedict too, but right now he's not, he's not my favorite of the brothers. And so it was just kind of frustrating because even my friends, even though they liked it too, and I knew I could talk to them and they would agree, we would kind of have the same opinions, or possibly mostly the same opinions. They when they were ready to move on, I'm thinking, but season 4 is not for a long time. Why are you I want to talk about season 3. Why can't we talk about season 3? But I also didn't want to bug them about it, so it's kind of a frustrating situation, because even though I get that everyone has their different opinions, and it's fine if you don't love, and it's cool. I'm not gonna get how dare you not love season 3, and how dare you not love Colin, because my sister, Colin is not her favorite brother. She prefers Anthony, a lot of fans do. I think Anthony and Benedict are the two favorites. it's just at the same time, I was like, I want to talk about Colin and Penn in season 3. So, I mean, at least though there's a channel that I watch. I can't remember her name at the top of my head that I watch. I haven't watched her videos in season 4 yet. I wanted to wait. Where she really did enjoy season 3. I mean, she had her critiques, but so yeah, but either way, I still enjoyed season 3. I thought it was a very sweet romance. Very cute. I'm wondering how things are going to work out for the characters, how they're going to get to their happy ending, because they're going to have a happy ending. That's what the show is all about. The show has never had a sad ending or anything like that. They've always had a happy fairy tale ending. But I'm just wondering how they're going to get there. Because I have not read the books. I'm not interested in the books, so no, don't be like, oh, you should read the books. Because no, I'm not going to read them. I have no interest. You can say all you want, but I have no interest, and that will make me less inclined if someone tries to be like, you should read it because it's so great and blah blah blah. And I'm sure it is great. I'm sure it is fun and has a lot of good enjoyable things about it. But if you try to pressure me and try to be like, list all the things that make it so great and keep hinting, oh, you should read it, I am not gonna want to read it. I'm gonna be less inclined, because to me that's annoying. And I only want it, I only take recommendations when someone is not directly trying to push me to read something. If it's just a booktuber talking about a book, or someone just talking about a book, but they're not talking to me, they just have me talking, then yeah, I love booktube, their recommendations, that's easy because they're not directly talking to me. I'm just happy watching their video. They don't know I'm even there. So, but anyway, so that's as far as shows go. I did watch HBO Max last night. I was feeling, because they, of course, if you're subscribed, they'll be like, it's been a while since you've been here, so you should come on here. So I did watch, I cannot remember what it was I watched last night. It was something I've been meaning. An episode of the Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I finally watched the first 2 episodes of that show, which was fun. It was it's a little different. It doesn't even have a theme, really. But it's a little bit funnier, more tongue-in-cheek, it looks like, and, a little more, laid back, a little more of a fun show, more, and there's some crass humor in there because it's a lot of male characters, and, so I did watch that. I enjoyed it. I'll keep going with it. I do like it. And sadly, it's the only one that's, that's the only one other than House of the Dragon. The rest of all those other ones that they spin-off shows they talk about doing, none of them came to fruition. They were just ideas they threw out there. And I think they got overexcited. We can do this. We can do a show about Jon Snow. We can do a show about Arya. We can do a show about, what happens to these characters, and they were so excited, and then it just it ended up being too much, and none of them worked. A lot of them didn't work out. Which is sad. They sound like good ideas. They sound like fun ideas, but it didn't help that the last couple seasons were just a bust for fans. A lot of us were not happy with the last couple seasons. Which, by the way, I don't care if the last handful of seasons were terrible. I don't care if they were so awful or the writing was so bad. I don't care. I still think it doesn't ruin the show for me from the beginning. The show was great. It had a handful of good seasons and good writing. So it's to me, I think it's granted, people can do whatever they want. If they feel the way they feel, that's justified. That's fine. I'm not trying to, I just don't personally agree with it that ruined the show for me, because the last handful of seasons were just awful. They were so bad. It just it puts a bad taste in my mouth. It's I don't feel that way. I still think the previous seasons, handful of seasons, were good, and I would still watch them again. It doesn't take away the magic of the previous seasons. But anyway, so let's talk about why you guys are here. The books. Okay, a book update. I did decide to DNF Princess of Cleves. I was somewhat intrigued by enough to read the first 2 sections of it. It's divided into part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. I read the first parts, and I just was not. After a while, I just was my interest was starting to wane. I was thinking about other books, and I just, I wasn't. I don't mind. I like political drama stories, but the way this one was executed was just not for me. In case you're interested, this is basically well, first of all, this is a novella with 2 other stories in there, my copy. So it looks like I didn't get very far, but I got halfway through the Princess of Cleves story, but there were 2 other stories in there. So the edition that I had, it looks like I didn't get very far when I DNF'd it. But in case you're interested, this is the story. This princess, this young girl who her mom is preparing her for marriage and, being part of the French court and everything. And she's considered the most beautiful and glamorous woman. All these guys want her when she gets there and when she appears, and everyone's like, they all want to marry her. But because of her grandmother's reputation, a lot of suitors are convinced that she's not worthy of them. And I think it's her grandmother. I don't think it's her mom. I think it's her grandmother has the bad reputation. And so but then there's one guy, this Prince of Cleves guy, who's still in love with her and still wants to marry her. So she gets married to him, even though she doesn't love him. She has no interest in him, but she's willing to marry him because he's a nice guy. He really loves her. And she's like, okay, you're not bad. I mean, I don't love you, but I'll marry you. So she marries him, but then she ends up falling in love with the Duke of Nemours, who shows up, and they fall in love. And I think he's has a bit of a reputation himself. So her mom has instilled, these good virtues in her, and she's struggling with staying loyal to her husband. She wants to be a good wife, but she's also in love with this duke. So she's very much struggling with that. And then on top of that, her mom, halfway the story, dies. And her mom was, she has such a good relationship with her mother, so she struggles with not having her mother there anymore, and she's grieving that. But that's as far as I got in the story. Like I said, only halfway. And it's a lot of, like the first sections are a little hard because there are a lot of explaining who's who and how they're connected, kind of giving background to the situation, to the conflict, so that you understand why this Princess Cleves, why she struggled with finding a husband, why she married a guy she didn't love. It kind of explains all the politics of the world and of the court, the French court, and all the different important people in the court. And I can admit that was a little tedious, but I know it was important to the story because you need to know this information. I assume you need to know this information. But I think a lot of readers could potentially struggle with that because it's a lot of explaining things. And it's just, I just, even though I understood that, I still managed to get kind of bored and was starting to lose interest. And even though it wasn't like a super long book, it still was like, I was like, okay, when am I want to finish this so I can get to other more exciting stuff. So it's like, let me just DNF. Which, it's kind of disappointing because I get a little disappointed when it turns out that a book that one of my favorite booktubers loves and gave 5 stars, even though I know that your interest in books is subjective, everyone's taste is different, it still was kind of like, it's still kind of like, oh, I was hoping I would love this book that you love. Um, so yeah, it's kind of frustrating when a booktuber that I really enjoy them and their videos. I love their personality, and I'm thinking, oh, my taste might align with theirs, and then I end up not loving, like, DNFing a book that they love. And even, like, again, I understand tastes are subjective, but it's kind of like you get excited because it's like, oh, I have something in common with this person that I have a I don't even know, but I still really like them, and I still think they're a cool person, and we might like the same books. They might be my bookish twin, and it ends up not being the case. But anyway, that's all I'm gonna say about that book. I did start reading The Spider, the sequel to The Wolf by Leo Carew. And as I said last time, it's kind of hard to talk about this book because I don't know if any of you guys have ever read The Wolf by Leo Carew or not, and it's a sequel, and I would spoil The Wolf. And I've already told you that, I already talked about this book, so all I can say is I made some progress on it, and things have gotten very interesting, very intense, and there's a group of characters in the story that are basically vicious brutes, even more vicious than, like, even more deadly than the Vikings. And these people, well, they don't care about rules. They're like, just like, they'll kill you instantly. These characters have come onto the scene because war is looming, and so they're very, and it's like, our main hero protagonist is like, I don't know, maybe I made a mistake in trusting these guys. Because they're kind of, they might eat us or, kill us too. Once they kill our enemies. So yeah, our main character, our protagonist, once again, is trying to make good decisions, and, it definitely explores the whole idea of being a leader and having to know what's the right decision for your people, and thinking at the moment that it's a good decision and then regretting it later. So it's a very, like, a difficult position to be in. I would not want to be a leader of a group like this. Because I would be bad at making decisions. I'm a very indecisive person. But yeah, that's all I can really say about the book, because I don't want to give anything away if you guys have not read The Wolf. It's really fun. Like I said, if you like Bernard Cornwell's The Last Kingdom series, then you would probably like this trilogy, because it's a similar kind of story with Vikings and warriors and having to and trying to fight for land and claiming land and all that. And it's basically the same similar story, but condensed into 3 books instead of like however many books that there are. Because I had read the first handful of books from that series, and then I stopped because it got formulaic for me. It felt very much repetitive and very much the same plot over and over again, where Uhtred is, trying to escape, what is that? Alfred, but he can't. He always ends up back for the Alfred, and just because they have opposing religious beliefs. And just like, but it just, so I kind of gave up on that series. Well, it was a good series. It was fun, but it got boring after a while. But yeah, this is only 3 books, and this is the second one. So if you like that series, check out this one. Okay, now let's talk about the main event. I am on Return. I am still working my way through Return of the King. And and oh my god, I do not like Dunmore. I hate his guts. I think he is a terrible father, and he should not pick favorites. Because both Faramir and Boromir have very different skills. They're 2 completely different people, and they have different personalities, and I mean, the only reason probably he picks Boromir is probably Boromir was probably more like Denethor in personality. So it was like, and he was also the one who would do what his father said. He was, while Faramir questioned their father and, would try to please him, but he was also like, he wasn't going to be submissive to daddy. And, But yeah, so we're kind of at that part where Faramir has returned, and we are on the siege of Gondor. I just read that chapter, as well as the right after is where Rohan comes. You know, they're waiting on Rohan to show up, but Rohan has their own problems, so they're taking a little bit too long to get there to help them defeat. Help them defeat their enemy, the Nazgul, and all the orcs, all of Sauron's army, who showed up at Gondor. And I just that there are there's a chapter in this that reminds me of the chapter in Two Towers when they were traveling to, when we actually saw Gandalf leading the group to Saruman's tower to go see Saruman. There was a chapter of them actually traveling there, and they all have these conversations and everything. Well, in this story, we also have a chapter similar to that where you have characters. They're not I don't think they were traveling, but they do seek help from these wild men at the last minute to help them fight off an enemy so that they can get to Gondor and help them. Of course, they just barely make it to Gondor. I mean, there's already been enough damage as it is. And, of course, Denethor is like, we lost, we suck, it's the end of the world, why are we even trying anymore? Kind of mentality. He's very, he's in a state of despair. Because and then Faramir, no one can find Faramir. But then he returns he returns as a body, as an unconscious body, and Denver thinks his son is dead. And the dude is, he's basically giving up. And even now, just as I felt when watching the movie, I was like, what is wrong with you? Why are you giving up? There's still chance. This is the mistake you made by looking to the Palantir. Because you assume that there's no point. And that we should just give up. And he's also there's this whole tension with him and Gandalf throughout. There's this idea of his men are divided because Gandalf is kind of taking charge because Denethor's not doing shit. He's just sitting there feeling sorry for himself. And so this Gandalf is taking charge because they need someone to take charge. But half of his guys are half of them are in support of Gandalf, while the other half is like, no, Denethor is still our leader. We should listen to him. Don't listen to Gandalf. He's not the leader. And there was a really funny line from Pippin, where Pippin, he says something. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? It might be at the end of I hope it's at the end of that chapter. This chapter. Oh, I love that. Again, I love that they include lines from the book in the movie script. I mean, I know I keep saying that, but it's just so cool when I spot them. They had, this is the line between the Witch King and Gandalf when in the movie, he's about to kill Pippin, strike that Pippin, because Pippin has been trying to search for Gandalf in the movie because he realized that Faramir, which that is in the book, but it's the scene, I think, plays a tiny bit differently. He's trying to search for Gandalf, and he ends up coming across, the Witch King lands on his Nazgul and is getting ready to strike him, but then Gandalf steps in the way and protects him. And he's trying to find Gandalf because, in case by chance you don't know, this is when he realizes that Denethor is going to put Faramir and himself on the pyre. Because actually in the book, he's going to put himself on the pyre too, I think. Because, like I said, he's just given up. And Theramir, which they don't say it in here, but they don't describe the moment that they have in the movie where Pippin sees Theramir's eyes open, and then he realizes, oh my god, he's alive. It's just more like in the book, he's like, no, dude, he's not dead yet. Why are you assuming he's dead? And he we don't have a moment in the book where he sees that Faramir is literally still alive. We just have him, thinking believing he's still alive. But there might be, and I might have missed it in the reading because, like I said, this is dense. This is a very dense story with all the details. But so this is the part when the Witch King gets ready to attack, and he says the line, "Old fool," he said. "Old fool, this is my hour. Do you not know death when you see it? Die now and curse in vain." So, it's the line, "Do you not know death when you see it?" Although in the movie he says "old man." So that is always exciting. Those little bits of dialogue that are actually used in the movie script make me really always just, every time I see it, I just get excited. That's why I keep saying in every update video how I just love that, because it's so cool to spot those lines. So I don't know if I can say, I probably won't ever stop doing that, like every time I update. I mean, I'll probably just keep saying that, but I'm trying to find... Okay, so I highlighted that for me. I don't know, but there's something where Pippin says, when Pippin's trying to find Gandalf, and the soldier's like, who is the real leader, who's the true leader of Gondor? The steward, our steward, or the wise old wizard? And Pippin's like, well, I guess it's the wise old wizard, because he's the only one who's been doing stuff. He's the only one who's been doing shit. He's the only one who can get stuff done. Something along those lines. I mean, not exactly that, I'm paraphrasing, but something along those lines. I thought that was really funny. Because, Pippin really comes into his own in this. He really, because this is the first time he's kind of on his own, having to figure out things alone. He does make friends, but he doesn't have Merry or Sam or Frodo to kind of protect him. I don't know if he's the youngest or not. He might be the baby of the group, between the hobbits, but he is really taking charge and being brave and trying to do what he can to help. And I love that. He really shines in this book, because he's on his own. He doesn't have anyone to protect him except for Gandalf, but Gandalf's always busy taking care of things, as I said, getting shit done. So Gandalf's always has something to do, so he's not around a lot. So it's kind of this book kind of is a coming of age for Pippin. I feel like he's actually my favorite of the hobbits. I love Sam as much as anyone else does, but I kind of really love Pippin. He's my baby. But also, now as far as Merry goes, they're going to, like I said, Rohan has their own problems, so they're going to war, and Merry is eager to go because he doesn't want to be left behind, because he's the only one who wouldn't be fighting in the battle, although he's kind of now regretting it, because first of all, he doesn't want to be a hindrance to anyone. He wants to fight and help and save people and do his part, but he's also, also starting to realize he could potentially be a hindrance, as Theoden says, as Theoden told him. And that's another moment where they have a line from that was used in the movie. And he's actually picked up by this one soldier whose name, I do not remember the name, but they don't give the name, it's not revealed that it's Eowyn, but I'm wondering if this is Eowyn who picked him up, because he's talking about how this soldier, this knight, doesn't say anything, has not talked a lot. So I'm wondering if this is Eowyn in disguise, because in the movie, that's what happens. It's Eowyn disguises it as one of the knights. But she's not, she doesn't want to reveal herself, because she doesn't want her brother or uncle to know, because they're going to stop her. And but so I'm wondering if that was something that was just added to the movie, or this is that moment, but you know, they just made it more obvious that it was Eowyn in the movie. Like they because she says in the movie, Eowyn says to whispers to something to Mary, and she says, "Ride with me," and he immediately recognizes her voice because he smiled and he's like, "My lady," and he immediately knows it's her. But in the book, it's this knight, and he doesn't know who it is. He's just appreciative that this knight offered to give him a lift and let him join the battle. And like I said, I don't know if they just added that into the movie or if this is gonna be revealed to be Eowyn in disguise. I'm kind of curious about that. I would love for it to be that was not just something they added in the movie, but that is in the book. That would really make me happy if they did include that. Because then it would be kind of it, because that moment in the movie was a very triumphant and exciting moment, especially for female fans, to see Eowyn kick some ass and get to fight on the battlefield. So I'm hoping that that's her. And also, people still don't know where Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli are. They're very worried. They think they're dead because they've taken the paths of the dead. They explain to Mary what that means, and they think automatically, oh, there's no way. And there's so much mystery about the paths of the dead. No one knows what it is, who's there, why did Aragorn take that, do that. And so they think it's too late, that he's gone, especially when they needed him. But of course, if you've seen the movie or read the book already and know what that means and what's going to happen. I mean, I'm assuming that's the same thing that happens in the movies happens in the book. Because that would be very anticlimactic if, he took the past and he never came back. So I'm assuming what happens in the movie is what happens in the book. But it's true, I have not gone to that moment yet, so. But yeah, we already had the moment where he talked to the kings of the dead and was like, we need your help. And I feel like because I read it when I was a little, had some background noise going on, I couldn't really get into that moment. But I didn't want to have to go back and reread it because I want to finish this book. Not in I want to rush it, but I just, I want to, I'm just eager to finish it. But yeah, that's where I am. I am so excited. I'm so pleased with myself. I feel like I've accomplished a lot, and I'm so happy to be able to have read it and read through it. Really, it surprisingly has not taken me, I finished both Fellowship and Due Doubt. Granted, I started Fellowship around Christmas time, but I'm so proud of myself that I read both those stories in January. I didn't think I was, my plan was to read Fellowship in January, and then in February I would read Two Towers, and then in March would be Return of the King. I wasn't sure how fast I would get through this book, but that was my plan, and, I was thinking, even if that doesn't happen, that's okay. Even if this goes past March, that was fine, but I did even better. I've done even better than expected, where I actually finished the first two parts in January. I mean, and yes, I started in Christmas time, but I read most of the Fellowship in January, so I still count it as a January read, and I was very pleased with myself. I feel so proud of myself, because this is such a long book. I mean, it's 2 books, 3 books in one, but it's still, one physical book. It's just 3 parts in one big book. And I'll read some of the appendices, bits and pieces. I want to read the Aragorn and Arwen parts. And then there is some background each of the characters, although there is a moment, there are some a handful of footnotes here and there that are referred to the appendices. But yeah, I will read some of the appendices. But yeah, I finally can say I read I physically read it because I did listen to it on audiobook. But even now, I'm like, that counts, listening to an audiobook, to be able to say I actually physically read The Lord of the Rings, to me, is important. So I can feel a little less guilty and be able to say, yes, I read the book. I physically read it. No, I mean, yes, I listened to it in an audiobook. I know that's different because you're using different muscles. But again, it still counts as reading. I will say that. But I can also tell you that, yes, I physically read the book. But yeah, I am so happy with myself. I'm so proud of myself. So anyway, that is my update for you guys. I would love to know how you guys are doing with your reading. I don't think I've asked this question, but have any of you read Lord of the Rings? Or at least read The Hobbit? Or even seen the movie? I mean, I know most people have seen the movie, so maybe that's a silly question to ask. Unless you're just not a fantasy fan. But have any of you read the book? The actual Lord of the Rings book? You know, if you want, I mean, and if you're intimidated by it, read, the books have been published individually as well. That's how it was before anniversary editions came out. So I think that could help, or listening to an audiobook can help to help you get through. There is the one I listened to is a much older recording of the books, but there is one with Andy Serkis, I think, on Audible. So if you have an Audible account, I don't, but I would love to get that one. But like I said, I have to have an Audible account, and I know that people, again, that's another company that people take issue with. I mean, most of those big companies people take issue with because of, because of reasons. Anyway, but I think you should get, if you're a fantasy fan, I mean, no pressure, because I feel like that does not take away your fantasy credibility if you have not read Lord of the Rings. To me, that does not take that away, because I remember hearing that there are people that have said that, oh, well, you haven't read Lord of the Rings, so you're not a fantasy fan. I think that's stupid, because not everybody's gonna love Lord of the Rings. I mean, it's very dense, very descriptive, like, Tolkien spends a lot of time on details, on describing things, and his language is very formal. His dialogue is very formal, and that can get a little tedious to read. And yes, there's a lot of the son of this person when addressing characters. There's a lot of that, which is like, do we really need to say that every time characters talk to each other? Every time characters address each other? So I understand why it's not everybody's. I understand the criticisms. And like I said, I actually appreciate that the criticisms are like not just, this book is terrible, I hate it. Like, there's criticisms that actually explain themselves, explain why they didn't like certain things. And there's a lot of singing in the book, not actual singing. Like, you open the book and singing comes out. It's not like that. But there's a lot of poems that are songs in the book. And if that's not your thing, I know one of the negative reviews I read out of curiosity, that was one of their complaints, that there was a lot of songs throughout. Just like in The Hobbit, there's a lot of songs. And if that's not for you, then, I mean, but I understand there's a lot of things about the Lord of the Rings that not everybody's gonna love. And like I said, it can be intimidating because it's a huge, long book. And that's how Tolkien originally wanted to publish it, like this, in all 3 parts in one big book. And his publishers were like, dude, you're crazy. People are not gonna want to read that. Like, maybe your friends that are like academics, or I mean, even during the time when reading was one of the main hobbies, although when it got published, that might have been around the time when TV was coming and radio was already existed. So it's like there were, when the book was published, so there are already distractions. Not as bad as it is today with the internet and everything and social media, and now we have it all on our phones. But it was still even back then, people were not going to want to sit and read a 1,000-pages book. So he was kind of forced to publish them as individual books. But anyway, so that is my update for you guys. I hope you are enjoying your reading right now. Like I said, if you've read Lord of the Rings, I would love to know. Or if you've read Leo Carews' series, then Under the Northern Skies. Okay, it doesn't say it on there. That series, it's yep, Under the Northern Sky. If you read that trilogy, I would love to know that too. Like I said, if you're interested in that trilogy, it is very similar to Bernard Cornwell's The Last Kingdom series. And if you love that series and you have not read Under the Northern Sky, please check that out because I think it's a really fun series. It's very similar to that series, and it's also a lot shorter because it's 3 books. But anyway, I'm gonna go. I hope you're enjoying your reading, and if you are in the state, in the part of the United States that has received all that snow, I hope you are enjoying it, or at least don't mind it, staying warm, and I will talk to you later. All right, bye.